Hey friends! You know what I hear every single day ever since I started posting Lolita online? Why is Lolita so expensive? Why is Lolita so expensive? How can I afford Lolita? Why is Lolita so expensive? I've talked about it in the past among a bunch of written blogs and various different platforms, but I've never addressed it in a video before. The reason for this is because my mentality has always been if you really want something, you'll work for it. I didn't explain what I meant very well, so let me reiterate. What I meant was that I've never questioned the price of Lolita, because it's important enough to me that I immediately accepted the price, as well as figuring out the work and effort it would take to save up for it. However, after I addressed Kelly Eden's video about the $1,500 dress, I wanted to make a video addressing the prices of Lolita because I know that there might have been some newcomers who assumed that that was the cost of regular Lolita dresses or might not understand why that dress was so expensive. I was afraid people would be put off of Lolita because of hearing that price. Even though Kelly mentioned in her video that the dress she purchased was a special set, we all know people don't listen. You have to shout things multiple times and repeat them because people don't listen. Are you listening right now to the words that I am saying? Are you hearing me? I want to explain why Lolita dresses are priced the way they are, how you can find them in more affordable ways, and alternative options. I'm going to explain this in the most basic, primitive way possible, so if you have a degree in economics or fashion merchandising, why are you here watching this? You should already understand all of this. Regardless of what Momoko and Kamikaze Girls taught you, Lolita fashion isn't made with the intention of being worn every day in the modern world. Can you be a Lolita lifestyler? Absolutely, but then don't complain to me about the price. Also in Kamikaze Girls, Momoko shows the struggles of how difficult it is to obtain a large-scale Lolita wardrobe because of the price. She also mentions that she's living in an idealized Lolita world. You can see from Angelic Pretty's brand concept that they are a specialty store. Angelic Pretty provides adorable clothes covered in lace, frills, and ribbons like that of the fairy tale princess you dreamed about as a little girl. We want girls to never lose sight of that dream, and this is a brand for girls who want to keep that dream alive. I'm going to set aside the overt use of the word girl in this because I believe that Lolita can be worn by anyone despite their gender, but maybe that's a topic for another video. If you want me to talk about that, let me know. Let's take the terms from this concept fairy tale and the heavy use of dream. This implies that the fashion is not your everyday average wear, it's dreamlike, it's a fairy tale, it's a specialty. You can also look at Baby the Stars Shine Bright's brand concept, which has a similar theme. When I was young, cue serious dramatic music. When I was young, I wore clothes with ruffles and lace. I felt obediently cute, clean, in a feeling that I became a princess. Lolita girls' clothes with such a heart. Probably sounded better in the original Japanese, but you get the idea. Dreams, specialty, not everyday modern wear. Today's consumers for everyday mainstream fashion have become too comfortable with the concept of fast fashion, to the point where they don't even recognize it as being fast fashion. Consumers just feel that this is the way that things should be. Fast fashion is a product-driven concept based on a manufacturing model known as quick response that was developed in the US in the 1980s. These clothes are designed and manufactured quickly and inexpensively to allow the mainstream consumer to get the most current styles at a lower price. This model is used by many retailers such as H&M, Zara, Topshop, Forever 21, and so on. You cannot compare the pricing of these businesses to one another because they run off of completely different business models. They are not designed or produced or manufactured the same way. Consumers expect lower prices because of this, but if you look at retailers before the 1980s, you'll see that prices were a lot higher and clothing was made to last better because they weren't moving on to the next thing. Pieces were meant to be cherished for longer amounts of time. Especially with the impact that Instagram has made on our society, everybody just wants to wear that clothing piece for a photo and then move on to the next thing. This is not the mentality behind Lolita. Lolita is something that you build and collect. Most Lolitas that you see have been building their wardrobe for years. You can't be an outsider and look at someone who's been wearing the fashion for 5-10 years and say, I want to look like that, because that person didn't have all of those pieces right away. I feel like this is so common because newcomers want to look just like these Lolitas that have been collecting things for a long time and investing and working hard. It takes so much time because not only do you have to find the dresses, but you have to find pieces to go with them. And also a lot of people that start off in Lolita have an idea of what their Lolita fashion is going to be and what they want to look like. And then partially through collecting things, they realize, wait a minute, this isn't my personal style within Lolita. I don't look good like this. I want to actually collect this style instead. And that's perfectly okay too, because once you do collect a few quality pieces, there is a large scale secondhand market, and you can sell some of those pieces for different ones or start trading things. Before I get more into how to afford Lolita, let's get into the actual price of Lolita. Back to the dress that Kelly Eden mentioned was $1,500. That dress is really not the standard price of Lolita. It is from their specialty line. She explains that that dress is the only one that was in the store of that kind, and that it was actually meant to be an online only dress. Angelic Pretty releases a few of these specialty lines every year, and they will make a few sample pieces of them, but for the most part they are all online and made to order, which means that the dress doesn't actually exist until somebody orders it. And this drives the price up a lot. Manufacturers generally won't take orders of less than 1,000 pieces at a time, so having it made to order, the dress can't be put together with all of these other dresses being made because the pattern for it is going to be different, which means that you have to reteach people how to sew them, or that you can't have people sewing the same thing over and over, especially if the designs vary at all or if they are made in different sizes. Many Western labels have lines similar to this. My friend Bridget gave me the example of Valentino, their couture pieces, versus Valentino Red, which is considered more of a ready-to-wear. So if you think of the rest of Angelic Pretty's stuff as their ready-to-wear section, and then these specialty pieces as being like their couture, these luxury label pieces, like the one that Kelly Eden accidentally purchased, are definitely meant for a very special occasion. Sometimes they will release wedding pieces within these specialty lines. I think they're more intended for fashion shows or once a year very special events. Sometimes people even see these lines as being an investment. For example, there was a Baby the Stars Shine Bright made-to-order dress that originally cost $1,000 that sold secondhand for $6,223 in the secondhand market. Here's the kicker. Baby the Stars Shine Bright reopened their made-to-order for that dress, and it was at the original price point, which was $1,000. I feel so badly for whoever purchased that. I would not recommend getting into Lolita for the sake of making profit off of selling dresses secondhand, because the market waves so much. There's no guarantee. There's no telling what people are just gonna decide is popular. There's never any knowing of what brands might re-release. Back to this luxury label line, I feel like the general consensus among Lolitas when these lines are released, these dresses that are $1,000+, is everybody just reels at how ridiculous it is and complains like, why is that so expensive? The average cost of a ready-to-wear general Lolita brand dress is between $200 and $500. Why is that the price range? Well, there's a few things to consider. Lolita, as I mentioned before, is a specialty fashion, so even their ready-to-wear general pieces are not massively produced in the same way that mainstream fashion today is. Lolita releases are also limited in number and only released for a short amount of time. In this case, you are also paying for the brand name. You're paying to support everybody involved from designing to producing these pieces. Because these prices are established, other Lolita brands have to stay within this range in order to compete with each other. Supply and demand, my friends. If you've ever missed out on a Lolita brand dress release, imagine how much faster those pieces would sell out if they were priced lower. It would be even more ridiculous. You can get off-brand Lolita at a much more affordable cost, but of course you won't be getting the exact designs, materials, or necessarily quality that you would of a Lolita label. It's definitely easier for newer Lolitas to start off with Taobao brands, which are more accessible than ever these days because there are wholesale sellers and there are even Taobao brands now that have their own shops that you can order from directly without using a shopping service. Soufflé Song is one of those examples. Getting involved in the Lolita community will help you out immensely if you are trying to build up a Lolita wardrobe. A lot of Lolita communities will hold swap meets, which is a great place to buy secondhand Lolita because a lot of the times those people really want to get rid of those pieces quickly and you can get them for a cheaper price, and also you don't have to deal with waiting for shipping, or you can see it in real life and make sure that it's the piece that you really want. Being involved in the Lolita community is also super helpful to you building your Lolita wardrobe because you can find out what stores ship to your area, which stores have better prices to shipping to your area, and like what the wait time is, or maybe there are even local Lolita stores or local stores that have pieces that can be made Lolita or worn in a Lolita way. If you are looking for brand and off-brand Lolita online secondhand, Lace Market is the best tool for you. Lace Market is basically the eBay of Lolita. You also have to remember that it takes time. You might see a Lolita piece that you fall in love with but is not available at the time, and it might not be listed for sale, and a lot of Lolitas have waited for pieces for years. This is where the term dream dress came along, because Lolitas will dream about a piece and work towards finding it and try to save up for it. It took me 10 years to get Twinkle Mermaid and 5 years for other pieces. It's great to also be in a community because you can have those friends and those Lolitas helping you look for those pieces. I know a lot of the times there's Lolitas who want to keep scouring the internet and searching for pieces, but they aren't able to afford pieces right at that time, but they want to be able to be on the hunt, so they'll help friends out find pieces. You have to remember that you might not find that initial piece that you really want, and you might have to compromise in the meantime if you want to start wearing Lolita, but you can't find your dream piece right away. Or you can hold off and wait for that one item. It's completely up to you. I think that's the biggest message here that we all have to swallow. Foregoing gratification and deciding on how committed you are to wanting to wear something. Are you willing to wait and work and save up and search and hunt for it? I started to get into this a little bit, but now let's dig down deeper on how to actually afford Lolita. Number 1, budget yourself. Figure out your essentials for the month. How much money do you have to set aside for food, rent, phone bill? What are the essential things that you can't cut out of your life? And then also look at areas where you are spending money that you don't necessarily need to spend money. For example, do you eat fast food a lot? Do you get your nails done regularly? Do you buy a lot of video games? Are there areas where you could cut out and save that money? Or are there cheaper options for things that you already are buying? Cut back on those non-essential items and then save the money that you would normally be spending on those items and put it towards Lolita. You can open a PayPal account and connect it to your bank account and transfer money between those freely. It does take a bit of time. Put in, $5 for that coffee that you didn't buy that day, or $10 here for that meal that you made at home instead, $60 here when you would have gotten your nails done, or the difference between buying something from Sephora versus buying it from NYX. Like, put that money in there and you'll be building yourself a nice little Lolita fund. It's nice to have some money set aside saved into PayPal so that when that dress does come up secondhand, you will have that fund to buy it. If you don't have a stable, steady income, it's going to be more difficult for you because the fact of the matter is you need money to buy things. Exchanging currency for goods. It's how the world works. There are still ways for you to get Lolita, you just have to accept that it's going to take you a lot longer. First, look for non-essential items that you could sell. Do you have any extra old toys or tech or other clothes? When I first got into Lolita, I had a very, very, very big Tamagotchi collection that I got down really small and sold off a lot of to buy some of my first Lolita pieces. If you are a student, talk to your family about maybe making monetary incentives for good grades. If you live with your family, ask about chores that you could do for money. Even check your local community for odd jobs like mowing lawns, walking dogs, babysitting, pet sitting. If your family doesn't understand Lolita and you are struggling with that, I have a video all about that topic. It's a little bit on the older side, but the information in it is still very important and valid, and I think could be very helpful to you. I also recommend watching the documentary Weird Threads on Lolita fashion. I think that it's one of the best ways that Lolita fashion has been explained in a documentary, and it's really easy to digest. Lastly, take advantage of gift-giving holidays and make that Lolita item your main goal. If you've tried all of these things and afterwards you still can't afford it, remember that Lolita isn't something that's easily obtained overnight. It's something that you may have to work towards and spend a lot of time investing in. Continue to look back and try these different things and see if it's something that you're really invested in and really want to wear. I wish you all the best of luck in saving up and affording Lolita and trying it out. I hope that this was helpful, and of course, stay lovely.